Hi everyone, Janet Boyer here, and welcome to the latest edition of the Say It with Tarot podcast. Today I'm going to talk about what exactly a tarot deck is. Specifically, a tarot deck is a deck that can be used for divination or fortune telling, but more recently, a lot of people have been using it for brainstorming or setting affirmations or even creative journaling prompts or plotting a novel, even suggestions for paintings or poetry. Now, a tarot deck consists of 78 cards total. Now, they include a major arcana, the minor arcana, and the court cards. The major arcana are probably the cards that most people are familiar with. Things like the magician, lovers, death, the tower, moon, sun, and things like that. They often can reflect the big stuff in life and the patterns and archetypes that are universal to everyone. The four minor arcana, those tend to reflect the everyday stuff of life. From look back at my video or the podcast about the four elements, and you'll understand more about how the four suits of the minor arcana also govern different realms. And these show everyday things like a garden with kids giving gifts, or a merchant giving out coins to beggars. For the Ace of Cups, it would be, a cup overflowing with symbols. And those are Ace through 10. So four suits, that'd be 40 minor arcana. And some people consider the court cards as part of the minors as well. The court cards are what we call a lot of times the face cards. Those are ones that have like page, knight, king, queen. A lot of deck creators nowadays have updated that to make it more, well, let's face it, we don't deal with pages and knights, kings, and queens anymore. So they may change it to, for example, in our Snowland deck, called like the emoting suit for the cups, or the energy suit for the wands, to reflect more of what it is, the material suit for the pentacles, the mental realm, the mental suit for the swords. And the most famous tarot deck that most people recognize is the Rider-Waite-Smith, and ones that are made in that type of design. This Rider-Waite-Smith means Rider, which Rider and Son was the London publisher in London, 1909. Waite stands for Arthur Edward Waite, who was the occultist who commissioned the deck to be made. And Smith stands for Pamela Colman Smith, who was the artist who illustrated the deck. And a lot of times you'll see that abbreviated as RWS. There's also a PIP style deck called the Tarot of Marseille. You might see that is called TDM. And those are the ones that have like the old-fashioned images, like the four coins would actually have four coins in it. Four of wands or four batons would actually have just four sticks. And it'd be what's called pip, a pip suit. Pip suits rather than animated, meaning people or animals doing things. And nowadays, with literally hundreds, maybe thousands of decks on the market, many might be themed. And that's really interesting because if you're interested in a certain religious persuasion, pop culture theme, you really, if you could think of it, it's probably there. There's herbs and trees and runes, Vikings, gummy bears. Oh, seriously, it's just crazy. Anything you can think of, you'll probably find a theme. For example, my husband and I made a coffee deck. And we also made a Snowland deck, which is like snow themed, but frost, ice, and also Nordic mythology. And then what creators like us do is we update the image, and a lot of us write the companion books too to reflect how traditional images could be applied more day to day. So you would have the traditional magician, hand up and pointing. In our Snowland deck, ours looks more like a wintry wizard who's creating a snowman with the aurora borealis, but it looks kind of similar to the Rider-Waite-Smith. But in our coffee deck, we called it magic, and we consider coffee magic. And so, the lemniscate the figure 8 on the horizontal axis, that means infinity. So we had incorporated that in the steam above the cup. And then we have sugar, cream, pencil, and book, because with caffeine, all things are possible, right? Let's say for the Lover's card, it looks like Adam and Eve in a garden with an angel. And some people don't resonate with the Christian motifs. And so that's another reason sometimes people update it. For our Snowland deck, we call it commitment, because commitment is often a key word for lovers, and what often symbolizes commitment, but a ring, right? Put a ring on it. And we just made it in a snowflake motif. Lover's card, we showed two people in the steam of a cup, but they're both reaching for the last biscotti. Why? Because the Lover's card often indicates choices. And so when you're faced with, okay, the last biscotti, there's a choice. Do I give it to the other person? Do we share? Do I take it? And those are actually some of the questions that you face when the Lover's card comes up. Death is another one. It's very scary in the Rider-Waite, showing that Skeletor type guy in an armor, and people are dead and dying on the ground. A lot of rich symbolism in that, but it's scary for some people, and it just doesn't fit for everyday life in the modern world. Whereas obviously, hundreds of years ago, it would make sense. So let's say for our Snowland deck, we called it impermanence, because death can indicate an impermanence, that even this world passes away, we go on to something else. Even if you're an atheist, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, the body returns to the dust and can be, to the earth and can be recycled. And in our impermanence, the snowman has melted, but he's winking from the sky as cloud. So, there is an actual, scientific rebirth, so to speak. But, for those who believe in an afterlife too, then you could believe that you go on to something better, a Summerland, a heaven of sorts, good karma, whatever. And it shows a blue jay about ready to eat a bug. Again, the death of one sustains the life of another. And so we try to put some complex symbolism in there that also echoed traditional meanings. For our coffee card, we called the death card out of business, because what would be a death card in a coffee deck? Of course, it would be if your local coffee shop closes. But we put a for sale sign on there, saying, there's still a chance of new life. There's still a chance that somebody will buy that and revive it. And that's why we put a little flower, coming up from the cement in front of the cafe to represent, life can bring, renewal and, a chance of a new chapter. Because sometimes, death does not usually indicate an actual death in tarot. It indicates the end of a chapter. So it can indicate the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. And a tarot deck is very specific, like I said, in that it has 78 cards. It's more esoteric and complex. You might see other decks out there, like Lenormand decks, something called a Sibylla Oracle, or the Kipper deck. Those are different, and there's even Oracle decks and Oracle cards. And a Lenormand deck has a specific system. It's not very esoteric. It's more fortune-telling. There's only 36 cards. It's kind of connected to playing cards, but with titles like Fox, Bouquet, Mountain, House, Ship, things like that. Some people actually read a regular playing deck and memorize meanings for the Three of Diamonds, let's say. And then you have Oracle cards. That's determined by the creator. It might have 44 cards. It could have 90-some cards. It could be like archetypes, angel cards, chakra cards, bird oracle, you name it for that as well. But it doesn't have the tarot system. But you have to be careful too, because sometimes people call something a tarot oracle deck to try to get business or to try to get attention. But an actual tarot deck is just 78 cards with, like I said, the 22 major arcana, 40 minor arcana, and 16 court cards. But the deck creators might have liberty with these in how they name and rename suits. For example, instead of cups, they might name it emoting, or they might name it the water suit, or chalices, things like that. So I hope you found this interesting and informative on what exactly a tarot deck is. See you next time on Say It with Tarot. Again, I'm Jana Boyer. Bye-bye.